Look at this. Yep. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. It checks out. But you see, Leorio's a little bit, not uneasy, but he's a little bit surprised by the reaction, right? Quite a fan base, in a few seconds. Magician and the Butler. Yeah, that's got to be Hisoka. But the Butler, eh? No Jing again. We've got the panda. Go on then. Oh, immediate spike. Good. Third. I didn't expect him to go that high, but... Right, so that can move it to the next phase, right? From Jing's rules. Oh, it's spreading. Oh, 16. Let's have it then. Oh, it's like official. Pariston Hill. Yorkshire. Triple star. Yeah, okay, I've seen that on display. Even the photo, he looks a little bit uneasy. Gigante. Oh. Ox. Mizystem. A double star. Crime Hunter. Hello? Oh, I like this. Headhunter, corporate. Sea Hunter, that's new information, I believe. Legend. That's better. Norton. Whoa. Bushidora Ambitious. Blacklist Hunter. Like Tezagera, right? And Bison over here. Lost Hunter. Yeah, I'm sure the Ox and him have had a few conversations. Kite said he's essentially a 3-star hunter, right? But he's too lazy to go do the thing. Oh, that was abrupt. Yeah. Short did. Ooh. Ah. Ooh, the tension immediately just changed. Whoa. The hell? Yeah. Illumi? Understandably so. As a tool, right, for the Zoldyck clan, I suppose. Different factions, eh? Yeah, Amane had quite the reaction though to Illumi's name being dropped. As much as they can, at least. And then... Master Illumi. Oh, okay, good, he noticed.
これはイルミの立場がアマネとツボネ、つまりは親父やじいちゃんとは悪い意味で違うことを示している。
Maverick.
イルミはあるかも。
Unfortunately.
ファインプレーだぜこと。突然名前を出すことで
Right, he announced
アマ
it.
ネの反応を探ったな。これは家族内指令。インナーミッションだ。
Intermission? Ooh.
家族それぞれで考え方や方針が違った場合、あえて意見を統合せず、各々が自分の望むやり
Similar
方
to
を
York New City, right?
最大限
Illumi,
努力する。
Silva and Zeno.
真剣勝負。親父とじいちゃんはアルカを手元に置いてコントロールしたいし、アルカの能力で俺を危険な目に遭わせたくないとも思っている。俺は
Protector.
ゴンを救って
Right.
アルカも自由にしてやりたい。
Ooh, this is making me uneasy, man.
そしてイルミはアルカを殺すつもりだ。
キルアかい？
あ
ハリー、取ったんだね。
あ、すっきりしたよ。
じゃあ、心置きなくやれるね。
やる？俺を？
He said it out loud.
インナーミッションで家族は殺さない。
But they don't consider Aluka
家族はね。
a member of the family, do they? Silva made it clear. He said you shouldn't consider.
ここ、とっても面白いでしょ?
Yeah, Killua understands. It's a great
親
shot.
父がああ言ったのはそのため。
Yeah, I think so.
家族だと思ってはいけない。
He made it pretty clear to Killua. Right now it's making even more sense.
どいつもこいつも寄ってたかって。
Killua is, sorry, Aluka is not off limits.
上等だ。返り討ちにしてやるよ。
Ooh. It's really quite tense in there, isn't it? Especially the moment Illumi called.
じゃあ、始めるよ。
Oh shit. Okay, Canaria.
アルカ様を離さぬよう。
ああ、任せろ。
お二人が1メートル以上離れると同時に。
Breaks one of the rules, doesn't it?
キュラー様、そこへと強制帰宅でござ
I
い
mean,
ます。
they're in a bit of a situation at the moment. Man, Illumi is not holding back. I guess he's expecting Killua to Okay, that's kind of insane now. I have a bad feeling that title's about to come into play. The Magician and the Butler. Because I've seen Illumi's needles.
おやおや。ずいぶん過激だね。
I mean, look at this.
頼むんじゃなかったっけ？覗き屋がいてね。俺に情報をくれる。それを検証した結果、腑に落ちない点が。
Oh no, oh no. I think he figured it out. Who's the little bird?
キルアはルールを隠して
He
る。
figured it out.
俺の知らないルールがある限り、それを計算せずにする交渉なんて。
Oh wow, yeah, he's committed to just...
密かは周りの出自を排
Oh
除しつつ、好きあら
no.
ばアルカをキルアから引き離してくれればいいよ。僕がキルアをやるのはありかい。
Yeah, ooh, whoa, 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 whoa. Careful.
殺す。ここ
I believe him.
で今。冗談だよ。さっき漏れてるけど。
For the first time,
大丈
Ah,
イルミのさっき。
he noticed.
夫？あ、しまった。もしかして、はめた？
It was.
まさか。
It was.
僕ね、できればゴンにも助かってほしいんだよね。おもちゃは多いほ
Look at
ど
this.
楽しいじゃない？
The Troop and Zodiacs and Jing and Gon, Killua, all of them. Okay, Hisoka. Playing both sides.
できればだけど。
Playing with fire though, Hisoka.
祖母も私もキルア
Oh,
様の
grandmother.
ございません。
How cool.
今の時点ではな。
Right.
でもそんなの親父のさじ加減だろ。私どもの任務にはキルア様を無事にお連れすること
Bring
が
you
含ま
home
れています。
safely, eh?
そこにあるかの名前がない限りお前らは敵なんだよ。カムル
Godspeed, baby. Okay, so they lost him, but Subane's out there.
イルミ様にはこっちの動きがバレてる。羊あるいは家族に協力者がいる。
Oh no. Oh. Poor bastards, all of them. Unfortunately, they're about to die. It's Hisoka. Subane.
成長しました。
Oh, she can keep up.
坊ちゃん。あらかじめこちらが知らなければ打つ手なしの早業。
How did she know about it though?
いい殺し手になれますことよ。これならばイルミ様なんかに遅れは取らないね。
Ooh. Look at this. Yeah, a bit of personal opinion mixed
母
in.
親父のイルミ様とミルキ様は好きになれないよ。
Oh.
さてと、市場はここまで。
Ah.
違反した場合は話が別のことよ。
私
Oh.
邪魔？
Yeah, she's innocent and childish, but she understands stuff that's going on around
い
her.
ない方がみんな仲良くできる？
That's so sad.
アルカ、もしも世界中でアルカのこと大好きなのがお兄ちゃんだけだったら悲しいか？
Oh, look at that face.
笑いが止まんないくら
How
い
cute.
嬉しい。
な、この先お兄ちゃんはずーっと一緒だ。
Look at this. So this could be the next.
他のやつのことなんか考えなくていい。
As long as us two are together.
つぼねかイルミか
Yeah, Illumi might be
さすが
around as well, right?
望むところだ。行くぞ。
New music, I think. Oh God.
なんだお前は。
匿名希望のマジシャン。
No names, eh? Goto. Ooh. Oh, cool. You can shoot him like bullets. Oh no.
お前は俺が遊んでやる。
It's his last stand.
コインを弾丸以上の威力で連射できる能力ね。
Ooh.
部下を抑えてお披露目するだけのパワーはあるね。
無傷で受け止められるほど俺のコインはぬるく
Well, this is Hisoka. He's got
奴の能力に関係あるな。
bungee gum. And texture surprise. Yeah, that's bungee gum. Ah, yeah. Go on. Go on. Say it.
僕のオーラはガムとコイン両方の性質を合わせ持つ。
Elastic glove.
ネタバレが過ぎるな。
But he still got his ace up the
後悔
sleeve,
す
right?
るなよ。
Texture
偽マジシャン
surprise. You hack
死因には名
magician.
乗っても意味がない。能力はバラしても構わない。
Oh no.
密かと5頭の本格的な戦いが
Unfortunately for
始ま
Goto.
ろうとしていた。
Okay, let's get into it, folks. I hate to say it. I hate to see it, but unfortunately for Goto, this is going to be the end of the line. You know, if indeed this fight plays out to its natural conclusion, he's done. He's done. I just don't see how he could possibly best Hisoka, right? Again, if indeed this just plays out to a one-on-one, no one else comes in, and they don't have to separate, yeah, unfortunately, Goto is going to die, right? Now, you know, maybe he'll put up a decent fight, right? I hope so. I hope to see it, right? I've already seen his ability at play. And isn't it so cool that if you think back to the Rescue Killua arc, all the way back early days of the anime, right after the Hunter exam, Goto must have been using Nen at that point as well, right? But again, at that point, both Killua, Gon, and I simply did not know any of that. Though, of course, back then he's not actually shooting them like bullets, the coins, but now he is. Now he is. And yeah, it's anyone but Hisoka, and that would have been really quite effective, devastatingly effective. But of course, Hisoka is a formidable challenge. I mean, it's as formidable as they come. It's a different, ball game altogether, running across someone like Hisoka. Someone as unpredictable as Hisoka. And of course, Bungee Gum is immediately at play quite effectively as well. But yeah, you see through, someone like Goto, an experienced individual, be it as a butler for the Zoldycks and as a hunter, or a Nen practitioner rather. You see Gyu is just second nature, right? Always use Gyu, always. But beyond just Goto, I think you really kind of see how competent all of these butlers are, in their performance out there in the field under immense pressure. I mean, you really get to see that on display through Kanaria's quick reflexes and her skilled driving, right? And of course, I'm going to go ahead and assume that the limo itself is, it's a custom made. It is a Zoldycks after all. They've got access to a lot of funds, just a lot of things essentially, right? And it's needed. They're just in that profession, right? They're just one of those families that's probably got the biggest target on their back. So of course, that aspect really completely checks out, doesn't it? Them taking all the care necessary for, the transport of Killua and the butlers and all of that, right? And then of course the butlers themselves also playing a major part in all of it. All of them are just completely calm, even though, Amane kind of, she's the only one who kind of reacts to something. Initially, at least, as Goto name drops Illumi, Master Illumi. Again, that's by design, as Killua picks up on it as well. But that gives Killua quite a bit of information. Just that little move by Goto, right? So that's, see, I'm kind of going back to Goto and Hisoka now. Unfortunately, someone that useful, someone that clutch, someone that cares that much for Killua, unfortunately, he probably is about to give up his life for the cause, right? And, the thing is, both of them are ready to do that. Kanaria said as much as well, and yeah, she's been put to the test immediately in this insane car chase sequence. I mean, at times it felt like a bit over the top, right? The fact that they're able to survive all of this. I mean, yes, I suppose the limo is, custom made and all of that, but still, they're still getting tossed aside or tossed around inside, just going off cliffs and all of that. But yeah, surprisingly, no one gets hurt. And the thing is, Illumi just does this head on, right? And he knows, family is off limits in this, intermission and all of that, internal conflict within the Zoldyck family, no signs of actually just kind of sitting down and talking as a family. This is how they do things, don't they? I mentioned back in the York New City arc, there's no qualms about taking opposing gigs, right? You had Silva and Zeno trying to take out Crollo, and then, you have Crollo who hired Illumi, who ends up taking out the mafia, the Dons, right? And the moment that happened, gigs up for both of them. Zeno and Silva do not care anymore about that, right? Because it's not personal. But yeah, going back to Hisoka and his part in all of this, being recruited by Illumi, and then also kind of, working to ensure that Gon somehow survives all of this, if possible, because you see that stunt that he pulled, right? Triggering Illumi. And, Illumi is almost always perhaps one of the most composed and stoic characters of this entire story, right? Yet here, I see him for the first time kind of lose control of all of that, right? Hisoka gets him to react because Hisoka, this is an intelligent fellow. He's able to understand the dynamics, the emotional dynamics of family, and, just how much Killua means to Illumi. I mean, he actually gets to understand Illumi's, delusional or twisted sense of love as well, really quite recently as well, right, in the aircraft. So he kind of puts it to the test, essentially. I think he essentially knew this is how Illumi is going to react, right? Because he understands, Illumi is protective and, again, might be twisted, but he loves his family. And certainly Killua, right? He's possessive over Killua. So yeah, he got the reaction he's looking for because it triggered this immense bloodlust. And at that point in time, I really felt like Illumi actually could have killed Hisoka, right? It felt like it. But of course, Hisoka's now one to just, lay down and die either if it actually got to that point. But it must have excited him, especially if this is the first time he's seen his, full bloodlust, right? Yes, it was a bit of a trick to give Killua a heads up, right? Because he also wants Killua and Aluka to get to Gon. So, at the end of the day, these two, Hisoka and Illumi just have such a fascinating dynamic, don't they? Because, of course, Illumi understood there that, okay, Hisoka did that on purpose, right? He's trying to sabotage me, but then, they continue. They continue, right? He understands that Hisoka is still committed to, working alongside Illumi to accomplish his goal, right? The goal he's recruited for. But at the same time, Hisoka's doing his thing as well. And Illumi kind of understands it. He overlooks it. He's like, okay, it is what it is. And also, at this point, it's kind of flipped, right? It's not something new. Illumi kind of had his sights set on Gon back in the Hunter exam, right? In the conclusion of the Hunter exam, once Illumi understood the connection that's been made here, between Killua and Gon. And then, there Hisoka told him, hands off, that one's mine. So, it's kind of flipped at this point. Though, of course, Hisoka didn't actually think that, Killua is going to be fair game, right? Unless maybe a tiny part of him is actually trying to get a legitimate answer to that as well, right? Now he knows. But of course, ultimately, all of these people are just toys to Hisoka, targets. And as he said, it's always best to have as many as possible. As I get that really jarring moment as all of them are depicted as toys for Hisoka, kind of similar to the room Aluka is locked up in. But yeah, ultimately, regardless of Illumi's response at the moment and, his bloodlust getting triggered, Hisoka doesn't care. Down the line, he still hopes to actually come across Killua, right? And actually challenge Killua, right? That's the whole point of this, right? He noticed the potential in both Gon and Killua, and now he just wants it to play out, right? Years and decades down the line, perhaps. Then he'll go after them, right? All that time ago, right? The line of dialogue there is the fruit to ripen. So of course, you see that Hisoka's got a full batch of them at different levels of experience. Some of them are children at the moment, special children, of course, but children nonetheless, not at their peak. People like Gon and Killua, but then he's also got his eyes set on others, right? You've got the Zodiacs there. You've got, the Phantom Troop members. I saw, a plush of Krollo still in the middle of that shot. And many others, of course. So at the end of the day, Hisoka is patient. He's a patient man, right? He's got many targets to go after, as some of the other targets, again, blossom into their full potential. But yeah, at this point in time, Illumi doesn't care anymore about, discussing things because it doesn't matter, because he understands that Killua is hiding rules. So, it's completely pointless from his perspective. And he understood this, or he learned this from a little bird. So, at first I kind of thought Miluki, but that doesn't really make sense, does it? Because Miluki doesn't know either, unless he was able to find out. So, Goto felt that, maybe it could be someone else from the family, or it could be a butler. That might be the more likely option, right? It's got to be someone that's attached to the family, of course. So yeah, some of the discussions and the plans that they made in the aircraft, out the window, don't matter anymore. Because now it's straight up just going after Aluka, right? And Aluka is certainly not off limits. Hell, you see Aluka's actually omitted from, I suppose, the objectives for the butlers as well. And that's the reason Killua decided, nah, I'm going to ditch them all, right? Because, it's clear to him as well that Aluka is not being included in all of this, right? As a part of this in terms of, safely bringing them back to the Zoldyck estate. So yeah, he got out of there, but it's not going to be easy to lose all of them, especially because Subane appears to be as experienced as I thought she is, right? She's keeping up, and she even knows about Godspeed. I'm not sure how exactly But she knows. And the cool thing is I actually get a personal opinion from Subine as well. I mean, as an audience member, of course, it's internal monologue. But she's much like most others, she's not really fond of Master Illumi, as she called him. And she's not really fond of their mother either. I think she said something like, that both Master Illumi and Miluki actually remind her of their mother, right? That there's a strong resemblance there. So that certainly makes you think of the history as well. I actually kind of speculated that she might have been there for a long time, right? With the Zoldycks. And to me, it actually even kind of felt like she might have been there before Silva Zoldyck even got married or anything, right? And you see now, they confirm it that Amane and Subine, these are the most trusted for Silva Zoldyck as well, and I suppose Zeno by extension. So a lot of really interesting dynamics at play here. So Subine is hot on the trail. She is able to keep up, but also keeping a distance. Enough of a distance that it doesn't trigger the next request. But of course, all the separate factions within the Zoldyck clan, they have their own opinions and plans for someone like Aluka, right? Who most of them, all of them actually, other than Killua, don't even consider a family member, right? They believe, or at least Silva Zoldyck believes, that you should not consider that thing a family member, right? And it kind of comes into play here as Killua remembers, and I remember as well, right? It kind of links to the whole, family members are untouchable, even in these intermissions. But again, the treatment of Aluka is a bit different, isn't it? And, it's sad. It really is quite sad to see. And you see near the conclusion that I see a bit of a different side of Aluka. Though, it's always been there. I get to see it for the first time, I suppose. Yes, Aluka, even now, after, the flashback scenes, and at the present time, still appears to be really quite innocent and childish and all of that. But you see, there is someone there that picks up on all of these things, right? That someone that is an individual has their own thoughts and opinions. And, you see, and again, it's really quite sad that Aluka understands that, all of this is happening because of her, or at least that's how she feels at the moment, right? And she finally kind of asks Killua about it. Could I just make things easier if I'm gone forever? Or could things become easier if I'm not part of the equation anymore, right? Something along those lines. Killua, immediately just knows exactly how to handle the situation. And, at that point, it really kind of felt like, okay, this idea of just Killua and Aluka, to me, it almost kind of felt like maybe it's alluding to, the immediate future, or maybe, who knows, just the future altogether for Killua from this point on, right? That it might actually need to be just him and Aluka from this point on, right? That he's always going to have to be there for Aluka, or he wants to be there for Aluka, right? Because again, if he's not there for Aluka, Aluka's in, a lot of danger. I mean, if you've got someone like Illumi on your tail, yeah, it's tough. It's tough. And then he knows how the others treat Aluka, right? It's an object. It's a tool to be used for, for the Zoldycks. But of course, that's only if they can control Aluka, and they haven't given up on it, right? And this kind of goes back to my point about, Aluka still being around, and again, being stored in that really specific room that has a lot of toys. And that's being brought up again in this episode as well by Killua specifically, right? So there's that aspect of it. Then, of course, there's Killua's perspective on it. It's all about freeing Aluka, right? And protecting Aluka. And again, also, helping Gon or saving Gon. But, ultimately, I think Killua might have his next long-term, goal in life. And then, of course, for Illumi, it's as simple as just getting rid of Aluka altogether, right? A lot of different perspectives at play here. It's a full-on, chess match, essentially. So it's kind of great to see these Zoldyck dynamics, family dynamics at play. But yeah, going back to my point about Killua, knowing exactly how to handle this and, say just the right thing to Aluka, because he means it. He truly means it, right? And you see different types of brotherly love on display. On one end, you've got Illumi and Killua, really quite toxic. But, again, in a twisted sense, there is love there. Illumi does care for Killua as an older brother. And then you've got Killua as an older brother to Aluka, right? and a totally different approach altogether. Now, I'm not saying, Killua is, actively taking a completely different approach because of his experiences with Illumi, because, you see in the flashbacks, Killua's always been like that. He's always been there. He's always had this golden heart, heart of gold, rather, right? So it's beautiful to see that Killua's always been like this, So it's interesting, the different approaches from the Zoldyck family. And like I said, even Miluki and Killua have a really interesting dynamic, really unique to just those two. And then, of course, you've got Illumi and Killua, and then Aluka and Killua, and then Aluka and, the relation with the rest of the family. But yeah, it is a beautiful moment, essentially, as long as those two are together, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. And you see Aluka's reaction to that. It's just the most wholesome and cute and beautiful thing to see, isn't it? And also, before I move on, they actually showed that chart, right? And everyone's, relationships, again, in relation to Aluka. And yeah, I mean, I suppose it didn't completely translate everything because there are signs, built within that chart. So maybe I'll look that up, or maybe, I'll find out in the comment section once this goes up. But yeah, there's this one face that didn't really quite make sense to me, but I'm guessing, since it is Killua talking about the family, it's got to be one of the grandparents, or, maybe, I don't know, Silva's father is Zeno, so maybe even Zeno's father, so Silva's grandfather, perhaps, right? There are two other people in that silhouette shot from the Rescue Killua arc, right? I'm guessing this could be one of them. Right? At first, I thought it's like a baby, but no, it's essentially the opposite. I think it's an older Zoldyck from the looks of it. But yeah, let's go back to the election aspect of this episode. And, I think there's actually quite a bit of really interesting stuff coming out of it. Of course, as expected, Leorio does kind of shoot up, but, I did not expect him to be top 3. That's kind of insane, right? That's insane. But, like I said, I do expect Leorio to just kind of have this fan base almost immediately. And then you see even Killua has seen the punch. So everyone's going to see the punch. And of course, I'll come back to Leorio and the situation he finds himself in. He had no idea that, this punch is going to lead to this, that he's going to find himself in the middle, in the top 3 of the election for the next chairman, Listen, ultimately, do I think Leorio is going to become the next chairman? I mean, realistically speaking, no. But again, I did not expect him to be in the top 3 either. So who knows, man? Who knows? I mean, the thing I'm going to talk about next is one of the more exciting parts of this is, that official reel that the Hunter Association kind of puts out there for the top 16, right? You see that Leorio is perhaps the one that sticks out like a sore thumb, right? Only because he's so young in his career at this point, right? He's still studying to be a doctor. He's called a rookie in that, yet he is top 3. So you can see the impact of social media and a viral moment, essentially. You see that without any experience, it still skyrockets someone like Leorio into the top 3. A lot of the speculation I had in the last episode, yeah, it kind of checks out here, doesn't it? Right? They do attain 95% plus participation. I think they got 97%, I believe, or 98, 97 or 98. Doesn't matter. They achieved it. They go past 95. So it goes into this phase of the rules now that Jing set up. So yeah, I certainly believe, I still believe that Jing understood this situation and let it play out to its natural conclusion, because he knew if he lets it play out, something like this could happen, right? Inject new life into the election, and look at this now, right? So yeah, Leorio finds himself in really quite a surprising, a shocking position, and ultimately it's not really something I think that Leorio really wants to do at this point, because he appears to be really quite focused on his own goal, right? Studying to become a doctor, to make a difference, a real difference that he's always wanted to make. So yeah, I think ultimately, it's not going to end with Leorio as the chairman. But again, ultimately, I think it's just not the right move for his trajectory at this point. And I love how this came about, because they decided, and then of course Periston communicated it as the public speaker at that time. If you have any concerns, step up. And of course, they gave anyone this chance, and Leorio's the one who stepped up. first, right? Not for that reason, but it put him in that trajectory anyways. But let's actually kind of dive into the top 16, the official reel that the Hunter Association actually, kind of puts out there. I love the presentation of it, but at first glance, maybe it might seem like it's a bit much to go through all 16 of them, but I think it's really quite effective. It's clever. It really opens things up once again, doesn't it? The world building of it. It presents different types of hunters. And perhaps some of these names, initially, a couple of episodes ago, a lot of these names didn't mean anything to me, but now I have faces to those names and, the types of hunters they are, right? And perhaps they are about to play a role in the next phase of this arc, right? Because, again, they are spending quite a bit of time establishing or showcasing each one of them, or rather, the whole scene takes up a decent amount of time. And because of that, I am going to go ahead and assume that at least a majority of these characters are going to be playing a part, right? A few of them stand out quite a bit. But yeah, I think the best thing to do here is just go from the top and go through each one of them, right? Or at least the ones that kind of caught my attention, right? Of course, at the top is Periston Hill. At this point, I'm getting full names. And he is confirmed to be a triple star hunter. So immediately, the moment I, saw that part of it, I mean, I knew at the most basic level he's a hunter, but, now that he's been confirmed as a triple star hunter as well, of course, I'm thinking about, the line of, work he's in, or rather the type of hunter he might be. So that's a bit of an unknown. They kind of left that out. And of course, a lot of these things kind of go hand in hand. You go back to the Ox and his, almost interrogation of Periston a couple of episodes ago, grilling him about the missing hunters, right? And then, there's a hunter down the line that is specializes in missing people, right? The Lost Hunter, I believe. Then going on to number 2, you've got Cheeto, right? Triple star hunter, confirmation there as well. Number 3 is Leorio. I loved how, even his photo is just of him just kind of being unsure about the whole thing, right? That he was kind of taken by surprise almost, that someone took a photo of him for this. Again, like I said earlier, he's described as a rookie who's still studying, right? So people are going to see that now. But the thing is, they might not care. People are going to continue giving Leorio their support. It's as simple as that, isn't it? Right? Maybe it might fall a bit after, they find out that he's essentially just a rookie. But, I don't think it's going to be some kind of drastic fall off. And then, of course, at number 5, you've got the Ox, who is a double star hunter, but he's specified as a crime hunter. And again, that checks out given, him really having a look at Periston, right? Grilling him about the missing hunters. And then, I made the point that, later, once I do kind of come across the Lost Hunter, maybe the Ox has had a few conversations with the Lost Hunter as well about these missing hunters. There's still I think there's something fascinating going on there. There's got to be, right? And I think, one of the things I had to say about that is that, there is a possibility that, these hunters aren't dead or missing. There could be the possibility of just secret missions, right? So they're just, it feels like they might be gone from the face of the planet or disappeared from the face of the planet. But, something like a secret mission could be at play, and, it requires them to keep a low profile, low enough that, it appears that they just kind of disappeared perhaps. But also that's just one possibility that could only apply to a few of them. I'm not saying it applies to all missing hunters. It's entirely possible that some of them are dead and buried, right? But again, no bodies to be found. And then at number 6, I'm not going to try to say the name, but it's the Hacker Hunter. And as far as the photos are concerned, I'd say this is the one that really caught my eye, really caught my attention, right? Because I suppose they don't have like an actual photo of this person. But yeah, the idea of a hacker hunter, that's quite fascinating as well. And, even more fascinating could be the idea of who actually is in contact with this hacker figure, right? This hacker hunter, rather. And then, of course, going down to number 8, you've got Moro. Single star sea hunter, right? But the thing that really caught my attention here is the last bit of it. His focus is preparation for the arrival of more alien species, right? Interesting, really quite interesting. Almost as if, it's an ongoing thing. It's something that is expected, right? Be it the near future or just at all times, at any given moment, right? Much like the Chimera ants just showed up, right? On the radar. And hell, there's still the ongoing mystery about the Queen Chimera Ant, right? How the hell did she just show up in that one spot? So I think, because of these descriptions, unique descriptions for many of them, you're almost kind of even getting, I don't know, setup, foreshadowing perhaps, for, the story to come. Now, of course, I'm in the final stretch of the anime, so I am going to go ahead and assume that a lot of this setup might be for the manga. And then, of course, to round it off, you've got a few more. Jin comes in 16th, right? He's, again, specified as a double star hunter. But, Kai told me all that time ago, or he told Killua and Gon, rather, that, he's essentially a triple star hunter, right? But he can't be bothered to go do the official, paperwork or the requirements to just, get that upgrade. And you see that for a few of these names, Tagashi just goes full on J.K. Rowling, like Cho Chang, that type of really on the nose name. You've got something like Cutie Beauty, right? You've got the one lady, the single star Virus Hunter, right? The association's doctor, and her last name is Norton. You've got Bushidora Ambitious, right? Bushidora, yeah. Bushidora Ambitious, really interesting character design, immediately just reminded me of M. Bison from Street Fighter. And then, of course, in 14th, there's the hunter I mentioned earlier, right? The Lost Hunter, Lupe Highlands. And again, as specified earlier, he's tackling the issue of missing hunters. And that's the reason I kind of attached the Ox to this one specifically. So, someone like him also has to be careful, because if he's looking into the issues of missing hunters, tackling the issue of missing persons, because that immediately puts him in Pearston's path, doesn't it? Because sooner or later, if, this Lupe Highland is good at his job, is a good lost hunter, yeah, he's going to end up finding information that might put him at risk, essentially. But yeah, I really liked it, even though it kind of felt abrupt, how it immediately just kind of switches to the limo. But yeah, I'm really quite excited for that aspect of it again, right? The election aspect of it. And I hope there's more of a focus on that in the next episode, right? But I'm guessing it'll be half and half, and that's fine. That's functional as well. It makes a lot of sense, actually. But yeah, I think that should do it for this one, folks. If you enjoyed that, consider dropping a like, consider dropping some comments, give me your thoughts. If you are interested in early access or timer-based full length or even full opacity, consider checking out the Patreon page and potentially supporting the channel in the process. Links are in the description and the pinned comment, also links to social media. Right then, thank you so much for joining me, folks, and thank you for your time, because time is precious. It really is. And I do hope to see you again soon for the next one. Until then, take it easy.